What's up, everybody? I find it hard to find time to record a lot of videos, and I've been trying to think of how to create more content. And I figured, you know what? I've got this awesome camera and a way to rig it in my car, and there's a handful of times that I'm just driving. Why would I not just record while I drive? Welcome back to the channel. If you're not subscribed, you should be, because I feel like our content's pretty great and it's growing and trying to do more content. So smash the subscribe button. I think a lot of people in church have a hard time knowing where to start. How do you find something? How do you figure something out? And I think that one of the big things is honestly getting to know people and being able to know the questions to ask, because I've never been in a business or a community that is so driven from word of mouth. I just had a client reach out to me today and say, hey, my sister's church got struck by lightning or something like that, and a bunch of their AV stuff got fried, and they didn't know who to call, and I suggested that they call you. So I think that that's number one. Ask around, go to other churches. Hey, have you guys done upgrades? Did you like who you used? Do you feel like they had your best interest at heart? But then I also feel like making sure when you're talking to whoever you're going to buy stuff from, that you make sure that they have your best interest at heart. And I say that because a lot of times not a lot of times, I know that a lot of people have one of two things that have happened to them, especially in the church world. One is that they got taken advantage of. Two is that they got burned, they got lied to or something like that, which I guess is being taken advantage of. But the budget was just maxed out for the sake of maxing out a budget. They got, hey, we've got $20,000, and they ended up getting $12,000 worth of parts and labor for 20 grand type thought process. And I think that those are kind of, I don't want to say things of the past, because those people still exist. I call them trunk slammers, and they're dishonest people. And so when I say make sure the person has your best interest at heart, I would ask questions about really expensive things that you don't need. For instance, I had a church years ago that was so adamant about buying an LED wall for their church, and the sanctuary only held 125 people. And at that time, LED was starting to come down, but it wasn't super affordable. And laser projectors were the main competition. And it was a kind of a weird transition time. I won't bore you with details. My argument was I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was some obscure number. It was $45,000 to get an LED wall, the size that they needed, versus spending 15 grand or something like that for a church of 125 people. And it was hey, listen, if you're you wanting to make sure that something looks great. Now, mind you, they had a 12-year-old bulb projector that had never had the bulbs been changed, and it was a rear projection camera. A rear projection projector in a room full of massive windows and ambient light, and it was 6,000 lumens. So what we ended up doing is they built this whole thing, and they would put a projector screen on the wall, and we did a 12K laser projector from 30 feet away, and it was night and day. For all intents and purposes, they might as well have gotten the LED wall in everyone's mind. But they had gotten it in their head. So and that was me turning down money because they had the funds. But I'm a firm believer as a believer that it's not just the people that hold the money that have to be good stewards. As a follower of Christ, especially when I'm taking money from churches, not only, but especially when I am, Like, that's money that's been donated to the kingdom, and I am equally as like I have to be a steward as well. So maybe asking some questions about things that you know for a fact are like overkill. Like, hey, we're a church of 150 people and we need like 4 wireless mics. What about getting some, Shure Accent, which is like beyond overkill for a church of 150 people, and see what they say. That could be like a good test. Yeah, I like that idea. Something along those lines. Something that you can find out from someone, or doing some simple Google searches or some ChatGPT searches of, like, I'm a church of 150 people. What would be like an overkill, brand of something, that what you're trying to figure out, and see what they say. Because I think if they're like, yeah, I really don't think you need that, then that's a pretty good indicator that they're gonna try and sell you something that's more appropriate. But then, like, the other thing is, like, just do your research. Like, we have so many tools, and I think that, like, some of the important things, and I have a client that just used ChatGPT to figure out some networking stuff, and like, it got him really far down the road. And, ultimately, like, once we kind of got connected, he was like, man, I really wish I would have met you before I did this. But, honestly, like, looking at, like, what ChatGPT told him to buy, wasn't really that far off. There was just some, nuanced things that, like, come with experience that, AI doesn't have. So there's just a lot of tools out there for you guys at this point. There's a lot of churches that have been modernized. I don't feel like we live in a world anymore where these modern, churches with like nice AV gear are like few and far between. I think that they're more and more out there. I think there's still a lot of churches out there that need upgrades of some sort. That they're, either they bought stuff from a trunk slammer, or they bought stuff, because they didn't know. And honestly, even coming down to like places like Sweetwater, it's really hit or miss with those guys. Like, I've dealt with some guys that are great. I've dealt with some guys that are good, but like, they've not done anything outside of being, behind a desk at Sweetwater, which that kind of experience can only get you so far. And, their model is very much strange about how they get, how brands get them to sell their things. So, yeah. And I've said this before, when I talked to Spencer from MXU, we kind of brought that up, and it was funny because, he's like, of course you hate Sweetwater, you're an integrator. But yeah, there's obvious reasons, overarching reasons why I don't like Sweetwater, but the underlying ones are, there's just, I know that there are better brands out there than a lot of the stuff that I see them selling to people at churches. So, yeah. So, I could ramble on here for a long time. I think that, just being cautious, doing some research and asking around, I think will go a really, really long way. And I think that will protect you to a certain level. And then, honestly, build relationship with someone. Find someone relatively local if you can. If you can't find someone local that seems to have their, their stuff together, or at least understand their stuff, just find someone. Like, I have clients that are all over the country that will call me that I've either done no work with or done very little work with. That it's like, honestly, like, I love the church so much that, like, I would rather you pick my brain and buy it from Sweetwater and actually, like, get the right product. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care. Like, you don't provide for me, God provides for me. So my more important thing is that you guys are getting the right thing. So I think that that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is that the house and the kingdom of God continues to grow, and technology is such an important part of that I want to make sure it's the right stuff. I don't know. I think this was good. I really think getting some of this stuff out of my head, I think, is really important. And so I'm going to probably try and continue to do some of these, like, car diary videos, we'll call them. So, yeah, some really cool things are happening in the tech world. I think next video, maybe we'll talk about just, like, what's the future of AV for House of Worship, and see that we're in, we're moving in a really cool direction. Some technology that's been really unattainable for small churches is becoming very attainable. So really excited about it. So I'll catch you in the next one.